Today, we are talking about the art of surrender. Now, so many people get this idea wrong. So many people think that it is one thing when in the reality, they're doing the opposite because it's something you just kind of be. You don't need to really do anything. And this misconception about surrender and thinking the way that it comes with power, the way it is intertwined with power, people think of it in the wrong way. So in this episode, we are going to get into how to truly, divinely look at surrender for you to live your best life, for you to fall in love with the flow of the world, with the flow of life, the flow of nature wrapping all around you. And so, with that being said, let's discuss it. So, in order for us to start with the idea of surrender, we have to kind of pull back maybe the first layer. And I think if we look at its antithesis, its opposite, it would be control. This urge, this desire, usually born out of what we call masculinity, but I'm going to make an argument that it might not actually be masculine. This urge that we have to want to dictate every single outcome, to be in control of our lives, is the opposite of surrender. And many people might sit here and think, well, if I can control my life, then that's true power. That's power in its ultimate form. But I'm going to make the argument, this entire podcast, that trying to control your life is actually a sign of weakness. It's a sign of inadequacy. Not that you are inadequate, but that energies have entered you to make you think that you need to control, and thus convincing you that you're powerless if you're out of control, if you don't have control of something. So in order for us to evaluate this, we are going to be tightly, interconnectedly discussing the idea of control with this. So what do we mean when we say surrender? Well, the benchmark for this topic that I'm going to give you, that we've talked about in probably over 50% of the podcast, is the power of now. In order for you to become immersed in the power of now, you have to surrender into it. Because it's impossible for you to control the present moment. Otherwise, how do you articulate that? This might be a better way to phrase it. You surrender into the present moment, but when you try to control things, you are now placing your mind into the future. You try to control outcomes. You try to control what people do, how they act in the world. And those are all future behaviors, future events. If you're truly going to control something, the only thing you can control is how you respond in the present moment. So this might be kind of just a roundabout way to say surrender. Surrender into the present moment. You can control your reactions to things, but in order for you to have an appropriate reaction or action or proactive nature in regards to the energies that you're experiencing, you have to be so deeply surrendered with the present moment that you let go of any potential outcome, thus not needing a sense of control for that outcome. So another way to phrase this is that a lot of us will try to control outcomes. We'll try to control situations. You may have experienced this from time to time when you're preparing for a conversation. Maybe you're preparing for a meeting. And up into that meeting, you're thinking, I'm going to say this, they're going to say that. If they say this, I'll say that. You're kind of playing chess with the conversation. You're trying to play chess by controlling a certain outcome. But, and here's the thing, is very rarely do those conversations go according to plan. Very rarely. The movies try to make it seem like these super hero type personalities figure out 10 steps ahead. And there is truth to that. There is truth to that. But in order for that to happen, you have to be present. Because you get into that meeting And maybe you say the first thing, they say the first thing that you knew they were going to say. You say the second thing, good, third, fourth, fifth, good. And then they say something on the sixth move that you weren't expecting, and it throws you completely off. It throws you into this spiral. Your heart starts to become tense. Your blood starts to pump faster. You get nervous. Your judgment becomes clouded. You can't think straight because you have just started to experience the lack of control. You have tried to control every minutia detail, but something happened that you weren't ready for. And in order for you to try to regain control, your nervous system will start to fire. It will start to grasp at the moments that are moving by and you're slipping away and losing. And thus losing control. And thus losing power. Now, don't get confused. There is importance to planning, to making a plan, to planning for stuff. But once it comes to the moment, you have to surrender into it. Because all the planning in the entire world cannot prepare you for the actual war. Yes, you can get training and you can be as best prepared as possible, but if you're so in your mind and controlling and thinking this has to happen and this has to happen, your intuition gets cut off. And you get pulled out of the present moment. And so, I would argue, and what I'm going to argue throughout this podcast, throughout this episode, is that true power is surrendering in the present moment and letting go of potential outcomes. Because you know you're so powerful that you can handle whatever is going to come your way. You can handle whatever someone's going to say, whatever someone's going to do. And that's really all that you can control is yourself. You can't control other people. You can't control situations. Maybe you can control things like putting a podcast out there. But there's only a finite number of things that you can quote unquote control. And outside of that, you have to just surrender into the present moment. I mean, I haven't really done any long form podcasts in a while, but if I tried to control every single talking point, every single moment of the podcast, it would go crazy. It would go awry. It would go bad. It would go terrible. And even these podcasts that I do now, if I had a whole list of things I wanted to talk about, which I do, I prepare, I write lists down of the things I want to discuss, how we're going to go about it. I have the notes up beside me, just in case. But it doesn't leave any room for the divine. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Let me take my sunglasses off for this. You need to leave space for the divine intelligence that lives inside of you in these instances. And if you're trying to control every single moment, you're cutting that off. You're cutting off your ability to connect to that inner eye, that thing that's connected beyond space and time to everyone and everything. And what you will notice is if you go back throughout your entire life and you look at the moments where you have the greatest ideas in the moment, you will realize that you weren't thinking. And the thoughts just came to you from somewhere, out of nowhere. Because you have released the pressure of the outcome. You no longer pressure yourself into saying certain things and doing certain things. You leave your mind and body the space for it to do what nature and what God created it to do, which was to adapt on a moment's notice, to be open to new information coming into the mind. Because your mind is an antenna, your brain's an antenna. It's a jelly little antenna that's picking up every single thing around you. So the beauty of it, of releasing control and surrendering, is likely the most powerful thing that you can do. Sunglasses are going back on. And so, this might be a short podcast, And so what I'm going to leave you with is this. Find ways to become more present. I know, easier said than done. Find ways to surrender into the present moment. You can use mantras if you like. Enjoy the present moment. Enjoy the present moment. I'm enjoying the present moment. Or you can start to just try to feel things, engage your senses. What does the room smell like around you? What does the desk you're sitting at feel like? What does the wheel of the car feel like? Engage your vision. Maybe there's certain details inside your car, inside your office that you haven't seen before. Maybe there's minute sounds that you're listening to. If you take several minutes every single day, you'll realize that this is surrender. And this energy, this frequency is available to you at every single moment of every single day. And it's where the beauty lies. But if you're worried about what your boss is going to say, what your spouse is going to say, this argument, that argument, if you're worried about doing the right thing or the wrong thing, you're worried about paying the bills, you're worried about your kids, the present moment is going to pass you by. You're not going to be surrendering into it. You're not going to be releasing control, which ironically is one of the most powerful things that any single person can do, is just letting go. Let nature take its course. And don't get me wrong. If you have a meeting, if you have a preparation, if you have a podcast, if you have a presentation that you're doing, get prepared. You need to be prepared. But once it starts, let go of how you expect it to play out. Be okay with a mystery unfolding in front of you. Be okay with difficulties or issues. See them as challenges to keep you in the present moment. Because if you get tense about it, your audience is going to feel it. You're going to feel it. You're going to lose power, essentially. You're going to lose your energy. You're going to lose the business. You're going to lose the meeting. But I promise you that if you are just in love with the present moment, enjoying this moment, enjoying the next moment, everything has a way of working itself out. Every single thing. So I highly encourage you that mantra is a good thing. Another thing you can do, I've talked about this before. I think I have a podcast, if you're listening on my podcast, Traveling to Consciousness, it's called Touch the Grass or something like that. But you can go into grass, into nature. You can put your hands in the grass or on a tree. Both work. Rub your hands in circles and say, help me be present. Connect to nature. Say, nature, I'm here. Show me you're listening. Teach me something. Help me become present. Help me surrender. Help me see truth in what Clayton was saying. Any of these are valid. Go with your inner eye. Your inner eye will lead you in what feels right and what relates the most to this podcast. So I appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channels, go check out the other videos. If you're new to the podcast, please check out the other Indigo Education podcasts. And if you're new to here, please subscribe, please share, because this is how we're going to create world peace, is by sharing powerful messages like this. So with that being said, I appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all in the 6th dimension.